Welcome back, everybody, to more World End Economica Part 2. Where am I? I spoke to myself out loud to make sure that I wasn't in a dream. My throat was dry, though, so it was hard to speak. I cleared my throat a few times and took a deep breath. I hadn't the foggiest how I got here. After I left that store, I ran for my life toward the nearest street I could find. I thought the police would be right behind me if I looked back, so I did nothing but run forward, not looking back a single time. After that, I must have found a handy-looking tunnel to hide in and then fallen asleep inside of it. The pain throughout my body must have been from sleeping in the same position the entire time. Is this a sewer? In general, any place made out of the moon's unique limestone was a public facility. This place also had a cool, rough limestone floor, as well as matching walls. Between that and the sound of running water, this place had to be a sewer. Right then, I noticed a slight glow around me. Is that from the exit? I don't think I was nearly passed out, and while I had no idea how long I'd been asleep, it must have been night by now. The fact that the lamps were lit made me certain of it. Slowly and carefully, I began to walk. Suddenly, the road turned into a dead end. I could see the light source on the other side of the wall that I now faced, which was even taller than me. I let out a quick gasp because it looked as though something on the ceiling had moved. But the only things that were strangely wavering lights and shadows. Like a small bug attracted to the light, I took my bag off and climbed the wall. Then, when I saw what was on the other side of the wall, I let out a much bigger gasp. Holy! Before me was a huge, spacious atrium. I was near the top part of the atrium, and I could see more passages on its opposite and right sides. However, the most amazing part was the waterway passing through the base of the atrium. Clear water flowed through it like gentle rapids, and most of the sound of water must have originated there. The bottom of the reservoir glowed a bluish color. Occasionally, a fish would move, and its shadow on the ceiling would swim as well. As I gazed at this scene, amazed that places like this actually existed on the moon, I suddenly heard a rustling sound behind me. As I turned back in surprise, I forgot that I was balancing on the top of a wall. I immediately lost my balance and fell on my butt. Oh. All of a sudden, I saw a pitch-black figure in front of me, rifling through my bag. Hey, what are you doing? Not only had my life's wages and labor gone in that PC, I'd also carried the 1 billion mole dream that I knew I was going to make a reality. My body moved before I even had time to think, and I just tackled the figure. I threw myself at the shadow, covering its face with my left hand and aiming for its throat with my right. It was a technique that an immigrant from Earth taught me when I was growing up in a village full of muscleheads. It was an incredibly effective technique, and it had to be. It was used by someone who came from a place where a failed government was replaced by military forces who had seized the UN food supplies to be used as aid and would toss it around as if they were feeding animals. Because I was looking at the light coming from the waterway, my eyes still weren't used to the darkness. The passage was narrow, though, so I couldn't miss. Not only that, but my opponent was way weaker than I had thought, tumbling over as soon as I connected. Right at that moment, I saw a small plank-like object fall onto the floor. The glowing object looked like it could be some sort of computer terminal. However, I was too busy thinking about punishing this idiot who was searching through my bag. However, the bastard's body was either not resisting or too surprised to. I kept my grip on the throat and balled my other hand into the tightest fist I could make. Die! I froze, my fist still overhead. Huh? I raised my fist and was about to drop my iron hammer of fury. I began to speak. Woman? Ow. Right then, my vision went dark. I only realized I had been punched in the nose after I was woken up by being shoved on the chest into the side of the wall of the passage. Hitting me out of nowhere, what's wrong with you? The pitch-black shadow, or rather, the pitch-black woman, began to speak. Black hair, black eyes, black clothes, black skirt, and black shoes. Her ankles, peeking out from the hem of her skirt, were black too. Even her stockings were black. Is her soul also black? Dressed in black from top to bottom, her white face seemed to float in the darkness. She stared at me with her thin black eyes as if she was staring at a bug. My head was seething, both from the shock of being punched and my anger at the outrageous situation. What the hell? You're the one who's going through my bag. What's wrong with you? That's not true. What would you do if this broke? The girl looked around, then while still sitting, she reached out her arms to grab the plank-like device that fell earlier. She brushed away the dirt and began to use it, probably to see if it still worked. But anyway, what kind of mentality would lead someone to verbally attack me after hitting me? This is why I hated women. I'm just doing this because I was asked to. Why do I have to be subjected to this? She seemed to be muttered this to herself. Disheveled from the fall, she gathered her long black hair into a bundle of darkness in one hand and straightened it neatly in an instant. It looked like a cable harness. Found him. Hurry up and get up here. I'm in the side passage of the top level. Still seated, the girl began to talk. That thing might also work as a communication device. Who in the world is she? Was she searching for me? Or was she interested in what I was carrying? If that were the case, then I wouldn't hold back. Thankfully, I was in a dark, deserted, and hard-to-see place. I might have lost a fight just now, but if I went at her with all my strength, I knew I could win. Maybe I should take some naked pictures of her and post them online once I was done. Horrible, don't do that. With that in mind, her arrogant attitude and expression might come in handy. Right as I went to move my back off the wall, I heard a voice. I hear you. Wait 1 minute. The floors get complicated around there. As soon as I heard the voice, I felt the dark urge in my chest disappear. I heard that voice before. It was the voice of the woman from the Chinese restaurant who allowed me to escape. Hurry up, Lisa. The girl spoke curtly into the terminal. I feel like I'm losing brain cells just being around this guy. I was dumbfounded for a moment and then glared at the girl. Huh? The girl glanced at me, then quickly turned away. She acted as if she had heard a stray dog barking outside her window. She was clearly acting in the intolerable way that only women can, making it seem as though no insult or abuse hurled her way could possibly affect her. Well, I was the type to get really angry when something I say is ignored. I was not even enough of an adult to suppress my irritation. I kept glaring at her, not caring how lame I might be looking. Still glaring at her, I pulled my bag towards me and made sure that nothing had been taken out. Nothing seemed wrong. Only, there seemed to be something like a piece of dried macaroni at the bottom of my bag. It was particularly metallic, and a small green rice-sized light was flickering on and off. Around the time that I figured out there was a homing device, much like the one you'd use on a pet dog, I heard footsteps from the other side of the passage. The woman who appeared shortly after was unmistakably the one from the Chinese restaurant. While she was irritating, she also saved me. So this was Lisa? Here, finally found you. I told you reception is bad around here, the girl in black replied. But I found you. Took a little while, though. The woman wiped her forehead, which made her finally realize that her hair was in a mess. I'm amazed you got all the way to a place like this. Were you here this whole time? While the woman talked, she took the flat device from the sitting girl. After inputting a few commands, the macaroni-shaped light in my hand stopped blinking and turned yellow. Is this a tracking device? Not answering the woman's question, I asked one back. Yep, I put it in there when you were bending over to plug your adapter in. You were busy being charmed by my legs, so it was easy to do. I wasn't charmed by anything, I shot back. This only caused the seated black-clad girl to shoot me a disdainful look over her shoulder. Well, I apologize for putting a homing device in your bag without asking. No matter what the reason, it isn't a nice thing to have happen to you. Her easily offered apology left me no room to complain. Only there was no way that someone who put a tracking device in someone else's bag could be an upstanding person. Considering this, I started to feel like her saving me at the restaurant might have been due to some ulterior motive. In any case, I was in the back corner of a deserted sewer. What I had just thought of doing to my race to the annoying girl in black might now be done to me. You see, geniuses and the rich were gathered in the lunar cities, and most of them could be called extremely talented. However, they often said that the line between brilliance and madness was paper thin. There was no shortage of stories along the lines of mad scientists performing unspeakable experiments on a nightly basis, or of wealthy perverts committing sickening acts one after the other. I looked up at the woman, the shaken reflection from the water dimly reflecting upon her face, and grabbed my bag with one hand. I was careful enough to spread my money across different pockets, so of course I carried at least a small weapon. But regardless of gender, the woman over there was taller than me. Gravity was weak on the moon, though if you thought about it as simple action-reaction, there wasn't much difference here between a man and a woman's punches and kicks. In that case, it came down to either wrestling or stiffening your body in one place and slamming it into your opponent while conserving as much physical energy as possible. That was where the length of your limbs made a difference. Not only that, there was someone right next to me who most certainly wasn't on my side. I recalled the atrium I had just looked into. With my leg strength, couldn't I jump over the wall all the way over to the other side? Or if I made sure to land in the water, wouldn't I be okay? While my mind was worrying through the possibilities, I gulped and said the following. Why are you doing this? Was your saving me a trap? I wasn't sure if I should say that much, but before I could make a decision, the woman spoke first. The woman smiled as if she was stumped and bent her head to the side. She then continued. For fun? My back stiffened with a shudder. I had the feeling that I was going to be killed. You've got to be kidding me. I still had dreams, and I'd just barely gotten to the starting line. I stood up and suddenly put all my strength in my thigh muscles. She spoke right as my body began to fly up. But I mean, you wouldn't want to get falsely arrested, right? Unable to drain all the strength in my thighs, my body floated as I hopped lightly backwards. With a slow, gentle trajectory, my back tapped against the wall. Wait, wrongly arrested? That's right. Those two officers were chasing after a boy, aged 15 to 17, height around 160 centimeters. Slender, black hair, black eyes, Asian features, wearing a black backpack. But isn't that him? The girl in black replied to this description. Well, that's what I thought too. But after talking to them some more, I realized that it was someone else. I was slightly confused. When did I get asked that? That woman had known for a long time that I was a runaway. I'd been going in and out of the restaurant for a while, and I'd met her a number of times. Running away from home as a minor was technically against the law. While it was not something you'd be punished for, it was assumed that public order would be deteriorated by jobless, penniless minors wandering the streets, and so they're cracked down on. That's why the woman's words didn't make sense to me. Confused, and with my back still against the wall, I heard the woman let out a small sigh and continue to talk. Those two officers weren't looking for just some runaway kid, they were after a thief. Thief? That's right. But well, considering his MO and the circumstances, I could see how someone like you could be suspect. Hearing this, I was reminded how persistent the woman was when it came to the most random things. And that's why you wouldn't stop asking me whether or not I had lunch. Exactly. The other day, someone sniffed a nearby restaurant on the bill. According to eyewitnesses, the suspect looked just like you, as usual. But well, I didn't think that someone who would order IU jelly with a carefree, satisfied expression on his face right after gobbling up a crab-fried rice would do something like that, you know. The woman giggled as she said this. Slightly miffed, I glared back at her. I wouldn't do something dirty like that or something like 10 mools. Well, of course not. I checked with Sorrel too. Oh, and I made sure to hold on to your change in your adapter. That made me feel a little relieved. The adapter was especially important. If you were smart enough, you could do just about anything with an electric appliance. So most purchases required showing personal identification. If my adapter were to get returned to the police as a lost article, they'd figure out my identity in a snap. I heard that on Earth, even a child could anonymously buy parts that could easily be made into a cutting-edge missile. Now that was a scary place. So, well, that's what's going on. You should come back to my place. I honestly could not understand what she was saying. What? What do you mean, your place? Are you thinking of going back to that cafe? Well, I asked Sorrel, and he said that 4 stern-looking guys are taking turns patrolling the place. It was not a result that was hard to predict. Only, if that's the case, then I'd be back to sleeping on the hard ground of some deserted area. To be honest, doing that took a big toll on my body. Not being able to get a calm night's sleep was the worst part about this police patrol. As far as getting sleep, well, the Big Bull Cafe had a roof and running water. And if you said that you wanted to pay the premium fee, you'd get the sense of security that came with knowing that you'd be alerted if something dangerous started to go down. The question was whether or not that's a reason to just jump on an invitation from some suspicious woman who put tracking devices in people's bags just for fun. Even in stock trading, the too good to be true balance sheet was sometimes used to prime the pump right before a huge crash. Pump and dump that stock, man. I understand why you might be suspicious, but I just told you, right? It's like a hobby for me. It The woman told me this as I remained doubtful. There was a story I read about a guy who owned a website for penny stocks, which are basically really, really cheap stocks where you could buy, for pennies on the dollar. Well, he would run this website and he would hype up all these stocks, all these penny stocks that he had personal interest in. Well, he would basically pump and dump. He'd pump the stock up, to where it got, worth actually selling. Then he'd sell all the stock and basically crash the stock. It was crazy. Bringing runaways like me into your home was your hobby. She's either a pervert with some bizarre hobbies, or could it be my charm? I doubt it. I think I basically know what you're thinking, but the woman then laughed in amazement. Fortunately for you, boys younger than me aren't my thing. Unless they're holding giant blood-soaked scissors. Okay. Well, what are you after? Is it money? I have money. As soon as I said these words, a smile disappeared from the woman's eyes. Did she get mad just from that? While I had the feelings that I had already said a lot of other things that should have made her angry, I was still surprised at the sudden change. Watching my face, the woman must have realized the change in her own expression. Oh, well, I'm sorry. She spoke in a forced tone, then rubbed the area around her eyes gently with both hands. This completely disarmed and confused me. Not only that, I was faced with the grim reality of not having any place to go. The woman in front of me allowed me to escape from the restaurant, so in that sense, I owed her a lot. I then concluded that aside from the part about being a runaway, I did consider myself a decent human being, so I should probably reply with something like this. If I do end up being a burden on you, I won't be able to pay much, While I had realized that she wasn't especially interested in my money, I still had enough decency to feel bad about not paying someone who took care of me. That's why I said what I said, but would she understand? As I kept staring at that woman, she finally grinned and nodded. Of course. I'll take a little for food and other costs, but it should still be a lot better than wandering around outside. Oh, and the woman continued, after all, I took care of Sorrel too. Huh? Nothing you should worry about. So what will you do? There's nothing else I really could do. There was only one way I could answer. Thanks. You should be more honest and just say that from the beginning. The woman continued to smile as she said that, but I told her in my head to be more reasonable. Okay, let's go back. If it gets much later, I won't have a good excuse to give to the police. Hearing the word police, I nodded once again, recognizing this precarious situation that I was in. However, while both the woman and I tried to sit off, there was someone who just wouldn't budge an inch. It was the girl dressed in black. While I wasn't sure if she was listening to my conversation with the woman or not, she had an absent-minded look on her face. What are you doing? The woman asked. It was a very pertinent question. The girl, still not answering, turned her head and stared my way. Her utterly conceited expression immediately reminded me of the irritating argument I just had with her. What? I said this to her with a voice full of anger. I knew that my remark would just be ignored or snubbed, but she was being so upsetting that it just came out that way. As I expected, the girl then turned away snootily, with all the annoying elegance of some sort of princess. Hagana, you're not trying to throw a little tantrum like some child, are you? The woman used the name Hagana to refer to the girl. Still snootily turned away, the girl called Hagana gave no reply. With this, I was roughly able to guess what was going on. The woman inviting me to her house most likely meant that I would be living under the same roof as this obnoxious girl named Hagana. Naturally, I was upset that I'd been openly rejected by her, but taking a step back, I suppose I could understand how Hagana felt. This put me at a bit of a loss. Should I get angry or should I respond like an adult? Only this wasn't the time or place to dawdle. As I was about to say that, I didn't mind even sleeping in the garden. He spoke first. I can't stand up. What? Hagana looked up at the woman who replied to her and continued. I can't put any strength into my hips. It's because he tackled me. Hagana looked at me as she said this, of course. The woman looked at me. You tackled her? Really? I vaguely recall something like this happening in kindergarten or elementary school. Teacher so-and-so tackled someone or another. But I was not one to use violence without a reason. If the girl in black looked over in response to a sound and saw someone searching through her own bag, wouldn't she have done the same thing? Right as I went to say this, I'm faced with the fact that I tackled a delicate girl. I began to realize that I had done something that was hard to make an excuse for. Women are such unfair creatures. I cursed the black-clad and white-skinned Hagana as a shrewd tactician. I guess so. Wait, no, but well, I can imagine the situation. In that case, in a fight, both parties are to blame. The woman said this, then pointed at Hagana. Hagana looked at the tip of the finger as if it were covered in some kind of sweet syrup. If you can't walk, then have him carry you on his back. The woman pointed her finger towards me. Still attracted by the finger, Hagana's gaze shifted to me. But wait, how is that punishment for the both of us? That doesn't make sense. While I protested, the woman raised her eyebrows ever so slightly as if to insist that I listen to her. This was blatant favoritism, I thought. After all, the person that she's saying has to be carried must also... I began to think and then realized. In a fight, both parties were to blame. Okay, hurry up if you understand. This wasn't just any ordinary woman. Hagana also made a face as though she had come to some sort of realization, and then nodded. I sighed, put my hand on my front side, and walked up towards Hagana. She was sitting down, so her face was in a somewhat erotic position. Hagana hadn't made particularly expressive faces to begin with. It stared up at me motionlessly. Sadistic desires began to well up in me, thinking that I'd feel a lot better if I slapped the side of her face as hard as I could. However, I felt as though if I dwelt on these thoughts for too long, I might actually slap her. So I quickly crouched down and turned my back to her. I wasn't sure how long it'd take, but living under the same roof as her seemed like it'd be a pain, at least until the friction between us settled down. I should avoid any potential points of conflict. Come on, Hagana, turn your arms. That's right. I tried to give Hagana, who seemed to be telling the truth about not being able to stand, a hand on climbing on my back. Hagana's thin arms wrapped around my neck and then stiffened awkwardly. Actually, it seemed like this girl had never climbed on someone's back before. Hagana, you're not going to be dangling from his neck, you're getting on his back. The woman explained. After a bit of silence, Hagana shifted her body onto my back. Finally, two small but soft objects touched my back. As I was responsible for carrying her, I wrapped my hands around the bottom of Hagana's thighs. I was filled with a strange thought. So this is what legs and stockings felt like. Shit. It's not bad. Okay, stand. Another part of me nearly rose as well, but with a quick start, I put my strength in my two legs. I hadn't been skipping around resistance training, so I could pretty easily carry up to around 5 times my weight. One slender girl was practically nothing for me. Oh, you're stronger than I thought. Praise didn't feel too bad. Alright, then let's go. The woman began to walk. I tried to follow behind her, but Hagana stopped me. Wait. The woman turned back, and we both looked at Hagana's face. Hers was right next to mine. Suddenly I smelled something sweet and fruit-like for a moment. What is it? As the woman replied, Hagana raised her head a little while still on my back and replied quietly. He really stinks. The woman looked blankly at Hagana, then at me. A strange, cheerful smile began to appear on her face. In a fight, both parties are to blame. I'm gonna make her bow down to me one day. At that moment, I added another item to my list of ambitions. Well, you know what? I think that's gonna be a part. And I hope you all are enjoying the game. I'm actually really getting into it. So yeah, I'll see you next time on part 3 of World End Economica Episode 1. Take care, everybody, and have a nice day.